I think we're gonna leave. Okay, so this is gonna be a legitimate tier list this time. I made a meme tier list last time, but this time we're gonna talk about it a little bit more. And one of the things I got brought up beforehand is that there's some classes that are like eclipsing others, so they kind of belong in their own tier. And we're gonna list all the classes, not against them, but against what I think of each of the classes and how they stack up. Okay. I guess we'll just, where do we want to start here? I think we should start from the bottom because I see some OP class at the top. Start with Zero. What makes Zero even good in the current meta? They're a good farmer because they have L Cup and they do pretty well in other maps too. And then they have Crit Bind. Is that enough to make them a top tier class though? They can Liberate, which is something. But like, does that make them a top tier class? I don't really think so. Do I think that they belong in like a dumpster tier? We only have up to C tier here for some reason. So we're gonna just, we'll have the 5 tiers. I think this is probably fine. I don't think we need like 6 or 7 tiers. If I'm looking at Zero, why are they being brought to parties? They're being brought to parties for Crit Bind. They're good farmers though, which is something that you can't argue with. How do you add a tier on this tier list? There we go. Okay, well, we have a tier list. I think if... Okay, so, like, their farming is good. They're fun to play, too. And Crit Bind is insane. I'm gonna put them... I think they're a B tier class right now. I think this is where Zero belongs right now, specifically because of how much they hinge on Crit Bind compared to everything else. Because they don't do a lot of damage right now, but their farming is very good. So you have Crit Bind and farming. That's what's really bringing them in. Xenon. This is one that I feel a little more biased towards because it's my main. What do they have going for them? They actually do some pretty good burst once they're fully charged. But if they fix Beam Dance, they're dumpster tier again. I think Xenon should probably be C tier. They literally do damage from a bug. Their farming is good, and their boss damage is okay. They do some pretty decent burst. But charging is such a bad mechanic. So because of charging, I have to put them in C. The fact that I can't go through a portal while I'm charging is terrible. I can also die while I'm charging and lose all my burst, and there's nothing I can do about it. Like, let's say I fuck up once. But they do damage from a buff, not from a charging mechanic. You literally have to charge for like 7 seconds for this to be relevant. And this is my main character too. I'm like 250 plus. I've done a bunch of hard bosses. Still not, I just don't think they're better than C tier. Wind Archer. I mean, there's one really fed Wind Archer that's kind of showing what the class can do. I think they're pretty good mobbing. I don't think it's exceptional. They have a lot of full screen attacks. They do some really solid, consistent damage. They're flashy too. They look really pretty. I think Wind Archer is a pretty looking class. They have okay farming and they have pretty good boss damage. I don't know where I'm gonna put Wind Archer, if I'm being honest. They could float somewhere between A and B, I think, pretty realistically. The farming isn't exceptional though, without the 5th jobs. I think we're gonna put them in B tier and we're gonna be kind of happy about it. Yeah, I think this is probably fine. Okay, Wild Hunter is a sore spot because I thought that class was so sick before once they got their Jaguar bossing stance. I think right now Wild Hunter's brought kind of for buffs, and that's really it. I don't think they do anything better than any other class. I don't even think their farming is that good right now. They're gonna have trouble farming in Serenium because of moving Hurricane, right? I think just because they really don't offer anything outside of their buffs, I think we have to put it in D tier. I'm sorry. Thunderbreaker. Okay, so here's the thing. Thunderbreaker was really good for a long time. Like, really solid class. They were just solid. I don't know what to say. They did a lot of things pretty well. They didn't do everything amazing, but they were good enough. So now we look at what happened when they got buffed. Or when they got nerfed, technically. So their playstyle got changed, right? So they got some stuff reworked with them. They got some stuff moved around. And it changed the way that they burst and the way that they do damage. Their farming is good and their mobility is excellent. After the nerfs, I really don't see them above like a C tier. I would probably even put them as low as D tier, but just because of how easy the farming is in like Limina, and at the higher level maps, I think they probably deserve a C tier. And they have cool mobility too. Shadower, I don't know what to say about this class. The fact that you get locked into an animation that doesn't make you invincible with a 5th job is terrible. They're a great farmer, like one of the best in the game. Doesn't change the fact that I just don't, I don't know. The bossing feels almost clunky in some ways. I A tier, that's an interesting take. I think because of how good the class is, period, they do a lot of consistent damage, or just their burst is really weird. They hit very hard, and Trick Blade is very good. I would put them as A tier as well. I think that's probably where we're going to put them, because their farming is unbelievably good. Once you can start 1 or 2 shotting with Meso Explosion. They do really good boss damage. It just specifically being locked into animation is annoying. Like, my real... Before reading chat, I was probably going to say B tier, but I think A tier is probably where we're going to go. If we could, we would have like a low A tier, and that's where Shad would hit. Shade? I mean... What is there to say about Shade? Split is insane. Like, if you're playing a Shade, you realize how good your split is. That's basically it. They have good farming, too. They can clear maps pretty efficiently. Actually, they do some pretty good damage, too, on bosses. I think that... I think I'm probably going to put them in A tier. I think the damage is very good. The farming is good. They have good mobility too. And Close Call as a link built into your class is actually nice. Because on average, it'll save you a life a run, which is huge. So I think we're going to put it in A tier. I think if we're on KMS, this might get moved up to S tier because the meta is a little bit different. But we're talking GMS here, so this will be A tier. Phantom's cool. Phantom's really cool. That's something we cannot take away from them. They can pick all their abilities. They have cool utility that other classes don't. They just do a lot of things that's really, really cool. And then there's the elephant in the room. They just don't really do damage. They're a good farmer, but they just don't do damage. I'm gonna put them in C tier because I think the class needs they're 1 or 2 buffs away from being like S tier, right? But because of all the utility they can get and all the things they can steal, I don't think they're ever going to get buffed enough to be pushed in an S tier. That being said, they are getting another buff soon, and I think once that buff comes through, we're looking at like a B tier. Take my headset off, I'm not even using it. You have good iframes, you have good party utility, you're a good class if you're a Phantom. And if you're picking Phantom, don't be discouraged by being in a C tier, because the class is very good. It just specifically right now, they're in a weird place. So... Pally is something we talked about a lot before I started recording. Pally's interesting because it gets compared against Hero and Dark Knight, and ultimately the conversation happens: is it better than Dark Knight? Because you're always gonna pick Hero if you're an Explorer Warrior, because Hero is just better, right? I think Pally, they can liberate. They recently got some line reworks, and they have Shield Mastery, which just passively blocks damage, which can make you survive. What do I think? I mean, the farming looks cool. The fact that you can just jump around with your hammer spinning around is cool. They have massive iframes. They're super tanky. If I'm placing the class anywhere, it's probably going to be about a B tier. That being said, this is another moment where if you're in KMS meta, this class is probably a lot higher tier. A lot higher tier. But because we're GMS meta, you're looking at like a B tier, basically. And now we move, is this Nightlord? I mean, what can I say about Nightlord? Amazing farming, phenomenal boss damage, like, kind of goes without saying that this class is really good. The only thing they lack is an iframe, and that's really all they lack. This class is everything that you would want in not only a beginner class, but in an endgame, like, fully funded bossing class. I mean, without a doubt, it's S tier. This is as an aside, this is also my opinion. This class is very good. I think if you're choosing Nightlord, you're off to the races and you're off to a good start. And obviously, yes, you know, if you have Genesis weapon, it makes Nightlord that much better. But we're gonna just, as a general, I think it's an S tier. I think the class is very good. If you're starting out and you're like, man, I love ninjas and I love stars, I mean, why the hell not? Moving on to the... They kind of have the same theme where they're both throwing stars and they both burst a lot of damage, but Nightwalker falls flat because their mobbing's kind of bad. And you have to be able to jump attack. If you don't like jump attacking, that's just it. You can't play the class. That being said, class is very good. Once you can start one-shotting with bats, and once you can start clearing maps efficiently and keeping a good rotation on your whatever the one bat summon is, you know, it's a good class. That being said, it kind of gets eclipsed by Night Lord, so it's a B tier. Also, jump attacking. How the hell? How the hell? I hate jump attacking. I couldn't do it. And now we come to the next D tier class. I'm just going to put this here before we even talk about it. Mihail is just sad. I feel bad because the class is literally invincible. You see some Mihails doing Black Mage and they don't have to move. They don't even have to do the damn mechanics. They just tank it because Royal Guard is insane. What does the class bring besides Royal Guard? Royal Guard only affects them too. It's a D tier. Class needs more damage. Class needs a lot better mobbing. They have cool 5th jobs. I don't know. I'll just say this. This is another moment where the class is probably B tier in KMS and then D tier in GMS, just because of the class differences. Alright, we'll move on. I don't want to talk about Mihail too much. They're just a bad class right now. If you want to main it, more power to you. If you're good, if you have low ping and you're good at Royal Guarding, you're going to be a monster at bossing because you're never going to take damage. So that's a huge positive. The problem ultimately is they don't really do anything in damage-wise. So that's something that you have to consider a lot. Get in my apartment. We're chilling. Okay. Look at Mercedes. I think Mercedes is a really good class. They have really good mobility and crazy damage. But they're hard to play. So for a denter like me, I can't play the class. I'm just too dumb, right? But the class is powerful. The class is good. In the right hands, it's a good class. That being said, I think their mobbing is kind of eh. I'm not a fan of it at the very least. C tier. I don't know where I want to put it. So like, part of me believes that this class is like really good potential and should be an A tier class. But I don't know, because I'm bad at the class, right? They have a shadow partner. They have a ton of good 5th jobs. Like, I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's an A tier class, and that it probably could be better if they're farming. They need a little, like, I think the farming isn't amazing, but still pretty good. Because you need maps where you can, like, utilize all the mobility, right? If you're on, like, a small, flat map, then, like, what are you going to do? But with Limina, or not Limina, Serenium, it's a little bit better because you can, like, get around to these different platforms and do some cooler stuff. I'm going to put it A tier, my personal opinion. I've seen some amazing Mercedes players, so that's kind of where I'm at. Now we follow Mechanic, the good old washing machine. Like, honestly, if you're playing this character and you're like, I'm a washing machine, you are a washing machine. I'm proud of you. Perfect time to welcome back, Yank. Yep, it's time for some more meme. This is a more serious tier list at this point. Okay, so this is my opinion, and I don't know if anybody's gonna dispute it if you're a mech player, because you know. Mech does good damage now. Tank mode is a lot more viable. 5th jobs are better. I think everything about the class is good. Their farming is absolutely insane. It's a lot of micromanagement and it's a lot of summon management. I will say, I think this class is S tier right now. The class does everything well and it's pretty good. I don't know if it has an iframe, but it's a good bosser. It's a good farmer. And it's not very beginner friendly, but it can be easy to get into. Wild Hunter just doesn't do, so like I talked about this before, Wild Hunter doesn't do anything compared to a lot of the other classes. Like, it does some solid damage, it has some cool abilities. And I didn't even talk about it when I talked about Wild Hunter. One of the things that makes Wild Hunter bad is Jaguar Storm, because it lags most people's games. So if you don't have a good PC or good internet, you're gonna lag. And that's bad, right? And you're gonna lag your friends in your party too. So, I mean, it gets memed as Lagwar Storm. Or Lag Storm, whatever you want to call it. So I don't know, you can take it as it is. You can really take it as it is. I think that Wild Hunter is not in the place it needs to be. And ultimately, if your abilities lag your teammates, it's bad. Alright, so we go on to Marksman. I actually don't know anything about Marksman 5th job. They're Hurricane class. They have pretty okay mobbing too, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, they kind of have to live up against Pathfinder, because you can just switch to Pathfinder, right? I don't know where I want to put Marksman, because I think that they're going to get eclipsed ultimately by Pathfinder, right? Wait a minute. They're the ones. Okay, never mind. I'm sorely mistaken. Marksman is the single shot one that requires a snipe up time, right? Or split shot. Is that what it's called? Wait, what the hell does Bowmaster do then? Okay. I'm talking. I'm talking in the future about Bowmaster. Then here, let's put this down here. We'll compare them. Because Marksman relies on being far away, right? And they've got that really long iframe where they're like sniping the enemy and does a ton of damage too. But part of your damage is an iframe too, which is bad. And then split shot is good, but it doesn't have 100% uptime. And then on top of that too, here's the other thing that I forgot about. Their mobbing sucks until you get split shot, and then when you don't have split shot up, you suck again. I think this is a C tier class. I think this is a C tier class. I think I'm actually gonna plop them both in C tier. I'm reading chat a little bit. I don't know that much about Bowmaster, to be honest. I wish I did. I refuse to put MM above C tier. This class, they rely too much on uptime on buffs. Like split shot has to be up, and then without it, you kind of are just a mediocre class. And you do damage based on how far away from the enemy you are. How often is that useful? Imagine you're in Lucid and you're standing in the corner trying to get maximum damage, and then golems spawn and block you. Yeah, not happening. Ain't it? Okay. Move to Luminous. There's literally no conversation about Luminous that doesn't start with, wow, their TP sucks. And it's true, their TP is dog. That's it. The class is good though. They do some good bursts, they do some great farming. It's a cool class to boss with too. The dependency on +1 attack speed on GMS is painful though. I think Luminous does everything you want, except the TP is bad. If you don't mind the fact that they have crappy mobility, they're a good class. Especially if you just want to do damage and you want to have an easy farmer. If I'm, like, I think previously there's a chance it would have been S tier, but with current meta, it's definitely, like, between A and B, but I think it's closer to A than B, is where I'm at with it. Kinesis has really lazy farming and very efficient clearing. They do some okay boss damage, too. Some nice mobility. I like their secondary mechanic, too, with their secondary bar. I mean, what can I say? The class is cool. Really, D tier? I would say they're at least C tier. I'm gonna put my Kinesis in C tier. Because ultimately they don't do a lot of damage, and their damage is hard to get off a lot of the time too. And they kind of rely on, I don't know if they rely on it as much anymore, but when I was maining it, Kinesis was a lot about these little summons that would rack up a ton of damage, so. Yeah. We're just talking about what every class does and what they bring. So, like, let's say we look at a class like, we're gonna talk about it here, I guess, but it's everything. So we're not just comparing classes based on what they do in farming or bossing, because there could be a farming tier. Kinesis has good farming, really. They have bad bossing, but they have okay mobility. They have bad bossing, I should say. It's not good bossing, though. It's not amazing. Also, ultimately, if you main any of these classes, you're fine. All of these classes are going to get changes, so this, like, what day is it today? It's August 11th of 2021. You could be watching this a year in the future and realize that half these classes got changed completely with, like, an Explorer patch or something. We don't know. Yeah, I think the consensus was that Nightlord probably should be A, but I really think the class is somewhere between SS and S. And A, sorry. I think it's a matter of time, and I guess we're on it now. We'll talk about Kana. Kana is a plague on the game, ultimately. And I think we are looking at the current situation in GMS of eventually Kishin's going to get removed. I think we're moving towards a future where Kishin no longer exists. You have to put Kana in SS tier. Like, I'm gonna put the broken class in SS tier because everything below SS tier is realistic. This is broken, right? Like, hold on. Let's put this down. Let's put this in a row here of all the 3 broken classes I think that deserve to really get hammered. Where the hell's Adele? Wait, where is Adele actually? Wait, does anybody see Adele? Is it not on this list? There's no. I know there's no Kane. Adele's the one I want to talk about though, because I don't think Kane's broken. Okay, I'm just gonna put it here. Adele is right there. Right where? Hero Dawn. I don't see it. I don't think I'm that blind, friend. Yeah, Adele and Hoyoung aren't here. Okay, whatever. We'll pretend here that there's a. I wish I could add actually. Can I add a thing here? Okay, here we go. We are mostly talking about what classes do in terms of farming and bossing, and their utility. Okay, so this tier right here, and this is a disclaimer if you're watching this. Kana, Arc, Adele, and Hoyoung are all completely broken, I think, in every way. Arc is the only comparable one where it's between S and SS tier, because like 1 or 2 nerfs to this class makes it so much worse. Because it's above everything else because of how their 5th jobs played out. So let's say they're like, okay, this is too broken, let's nerf 5th job damage. It's probably an 8 tier. But because of the way their 5th jobs played out, this is like very up here. Very, very up here. Their mobility is insane. Their bossing is insane. Their farming is insane. Everything they do is nuts. That being said, a few number tweaks, a few line tweaks, class could be dumpster tier. So it's on a fine line. I understand why it's currently up where it is. Adele is another plague on the game. The class literally is like a 1-button legend, where I press a button and I'm gonna do more damage than almost all of these classes here. Just 1 button. I don't even have to optimize my class. I press all my buffs, I press Infinity Blade, and I leave. And it's gonna out DPS most of the classes. And that's something that just should never exist. Their mobbing is easy, their bossing is easy, their damage is easy. They're a 1-button everything class. Like, Adele is just, like, so far leaps and bounds above every other damage class. It's insane. I put Hoyoung up there too, which you can't see, but it's up there. I don't know where the other tier list was that Hoyoung existed. Okay, hold on. Let's see if we can find another tier list. Maplestory tier list maker. What the fuck is this? I don't know what half these ones are. I don't have anything back here, right? Okay, bro. I like the one I had. I just want something better. Does this one have all the classes I want, or is this the same one we're using? I think it's the same one we're using. I wonder why none of these are updated to Adele. If they're not updated, it's okay. Okay, well, you hate to see it. That one had I want them to have all of them though, right? Oh, we found it. We found it. We found one with all of them. Okay, we're gonna quickly throw them back in where they were. And then we're gonna delete this row here. Okay, so what had we done? Wild Hunter Mihail in the bottom, obviously. Wild Hunter Mihail. Xenon Thunderbreaker. Thunderbreaker. Xenon. Wait, hold on. And then we had Phantom, both Bowman. Phantom. Where are the two Bowmen? Wild Hunter is D tier because they don't do anything better than most of the other classes. At least I don't think they do anything better than most of the other classes. Nightwalker, Pally. Where did I have Shadower? Was it B tier? No, Shadower was A tier. Nightlord, S tier. I'm still sticking Nightlord in S tier. I don't even care. I think the class is dumb. Paladin is C tier. Shade is A tier. Kinesis. No, I think Kinesis. I was actually contemplating. I'm like, do I put Kinesis in D tier? I don't think so. Oh no, wait. We had Pally in B tier. Pally was B tier because of how tanky they were. That's right. And there's a chance that their meta was better. Oh, right. Hold on. This isn't SS tier. This is please fix. Wait, where's Zero? Zero was in B tier as well. Wait, did we put our Mercedes in A tier along with our Lumi? I think this is how far we got, right? Because then we started to ramble on about other classes. I think this is where we were, right? Am I missing anything here? Oh, I'm missing the other Bowman class, right? The other Explorer Bowman. Here it is. Okay. So there, our tier list is back again, okay. Okay. So, Ho Young. I'm glad I can talk about this in detail now with the picture here. Ho Young is getting fixed. I'm sorry, Gabe, we gotta talk about it. Ho Young is getting fixed, so they're getting some nerfs. That probably brings them closer to S tier. This is before nerfs, so we're talking about this beforehand. This is important to know that Ho Young is really silly right now. They can do stuff that other classes can't. Huge damage, huge burst, very consistent, dark sight, flying, just, yeah. Clones are really silly. That's what's kind of making the class good right now. And it makes their mobbing, like, insane. Hey, Lumi. And I think Ho Young needs to be fixed. Yeah, I think I was saying this. Once they get nerfed, they're kind of closer to S tier, maybe even A tier. I think S tier probably, though. For now, please fix this class. Adele, a one-button champion, does everything well with pressing a single fucking button. More damage to class it with a single goddamn button. Class is dumb. Please just fix it. Just, I get it. You want to change Adele by making her a glass cannon. She's not even a glass cannon. She's still tanky as shit. She has green shield. Who cares if she loses an iframe? She's still tanky. You have to think about what's making the class good and then fix it, because it's eclipsing all the other classes, making other classes look bad. Arc, we had talked about it. Very good damage, very good mobility, very good everything. They do everything amazing. However, if you tweak any numbers in them, any numbers, you're going to actually plummet the class into the ground. Like, the class is going to go from being good to just an absolute dumpster tier, and that's important. An iframe is an invincibility frame, so you press a button and you no longer take damage from anything. And then we're going to end up speedrunning a lot of these because I don't think we have to be quite as in-depth with like why a lot of these classes are good. Kana is stupid. Please just delete this character. Like, if there was... I should just add another tier above this that says please delete. Add row above. Please delete. Kana literally is the best support and DPS in the game. They don't do anything worse than anybody. Literally nobody. Their mobbing is insane. Like, way above everything else. Their damage is way above everything else, too. Despite the fact they're a support class, Domain is just nuts. They have Pink Barrier. Like, I don't know what to say. This class is stupid. At one point, Kana was a Domain bot. And that's all it ever was. And you put down Pink Barrier. Or not Pink Barrier, Boss Barrier. Pink Barrier is dumb too. It stops you from dying to like every damn mechanic in the game. Yeah, and then Kishin. Kishin is a plague. It's literally lagging our servers. Good morning. It's literally lagging our servers on GMS, and we don't have proper spawn because of it. It's killing our game. Like, just delete the character. If you're a Kana fan, I'm sorry. You have to think about what's going on with the game and how badly it's impacting it. There's so many cool classes in here that don't matter because Kana exists. That's just it. Like, I'm just against this. Please just get rid of Kana. Alright, back to the classes that are a little bit more balanced. Not by much, though. We're talking about Pathfinder. Pathfinder, Explorer Mage, or Explorer Archer. Once you can job change from Bowman and Marksman into Pathfinder, what's the point of these two? Tell me. Kishin is not the most broken thing, but it just needs to get removed. Pathfinder is most certainly an S tier. They have good damage, easy farming, good utility. Like, they do a lot of things very well, and I'll stand by and I'll die by it. I think Pathfinder is a very good class. They have a crit damage bubble, which is, you know, it's not very many classes that can give a crit damage, but is it a better bosser? I would say so, yeah. Good damage, good utility. They're better. Kaiser, A tier. Their farming kind of sucks, if I'm being honest. It feels weird to play when they're farming. On the opposite side, Dreadscore, they could just make our servers work, and then it would feel like we're playing on Kishin all the time. I don't think Kaiser's S. Kaiser has big hitboxes with Dragon Form, which is a net loss when they're bossing. Their damage is very good. Their burst is insane. Their bossing is amazing. It's very easy. They have a teleport and a flash jump. I think the class is good, but we can't overstate how annoying it is to play with a big hitbox and how annoying it is when they're farming, because they're not the best farmers. Jet is creeping. They're creeping. Jet is very easily A tier. They're doing some good damage now with some reworks and some changes to fifth jobs. And getting new fifth jobs too mattered a lot for them. They finally have a good mobbing skill, believe it or not. Mecha's not always big hitbox though, only if they're washing machine. I think Jet's pretty close to S tier, which is surprising because, you know, Jet is close to S tier at this point. Maybe one more buff and they'll be an S tier because they're doing everything well. And they're really tanky too in their race car. I don't know what to say about Ilium. They do some pretty good damage and they do some pretty good farming. I don't think it's a great class though. Micromanaging the ball is annoying in most cases. And playing outside of flight form is annoying. If I'm putting it anywhere, it's C tier. I can't justify putting it in B tier because all four of these classes are better than Ilium by like a fair bit. Ice Lightning Mage gets friggin' hard carried. Just absolutely hard carried by how good they are at farming. And they look cool too. I think if they get any bossing buffs, they're probably an A tier, but for now I'm putting them in B tier. Their bossing is bad, but oh my god, is their farming amazing. If you're a farmer, you'll like Ice Lightning. Okay, so here's the question. I don't think Hero needs fixing, but I think it's above these classes in terms of S tier, so we'll put it over here. I think Hero is really good. Their farming sucks early on and then gets better once you get to the smaller maps. So, and their damage is insane too. I think it's hard to put this below S tier. I don't quite think it's a please fix tier though. I think it's kind of close. Okay, Hayato is creeping. They're creeping hard, and I really want to put them at S tier, but they're not quite there yet. Mike, if you play Xenon and you know how annoying charging is, I want to be that Xenon main that says they're SS tier, but they're just not right now. Fix charging and they'll be better. It's just the truth. Hayato is better than Hero. I don't think so. Hayato is definitely SS tier. I don't think so, actually. Their mobbing is very good and their bossing is very good. But they don't do any real on-demand burst. They do have summons now, that is true. Okay, we'll come back to it. How about this? How about this? We're going to put this at the top and we'll come back to it. Let's have some thought on it, okay? I think it's an A tier, but let's think about it compared to the other classes. Fire Poison Mage. S tier, I think. I think they're S tier. Yeah. They do good damage. They have pretty good mobility too, just because of how, like, they have the good TP, so it's not bad. Hayato is always bursting because they're always doing damage. What's going on, Deso? I think Fire Poison does like good. They have good damage. They have good bossing. They're a pretty easy farmer too. Their fifth jobs are really cool to look at. They have ethereal form as well for survivability and bosses. I'm leaving it in S tier. I'm leaving it in S tier. Bishop makes it a lot easier to clear bosses, that's why. I'm almost out of stuff to drink here, my throat's starting to hurt. Hayato does have counter too, and the extra damage from bloodletting. Okay, we're gonna come back to Hayato. There's a lot of talk on it being SS tier, but I don't think it's quite there yet. Evan? Okay, I hate to put this in D tier, but like, it feels kind of clunky to play a lot of the time. Especially with how much they lag after they do their summons and do their combos. They have good support abilities, and they're a nice class to play. I think they have the potential with a few buffs to be very good, but right now they're not very good. They're just here. This is kind of where I'm at with the class. I think they need a buff of some kind. Lines, maybe? Maybe some end lag on their abilities would be nice to see removed. I don't quite know. I'm not quite too sure. I just think Evan is bad right now. I don't think there's any way to justify it being even remotely above D tier. Dual Blade is an A tier class. They used to be S tier, I think not that long ago. But the fact that Night Lord is so good right now kind of makes Dual Blade a little bit worse. They have their fifth jobs make them good at mobbing now at the very least. So that's quite nice because that was their biggest weakness, was they were like, you know, B to C tier because of how bad their farming was. But their bossing has always been good. Because they have a lot of survivability, iframes, good damage. It's just nice. But I think right now they're probably an A tier class, just because they're kind of getting eclipsed out by Night Lord a little bit. And that's a conversation you always have to have too. If you're an explorer, you have two other classes typically to pick from. So you have to always keep into consideration where you line up against the others. Because if I can switch, let's say I'm a dual blade, I've got the same gear ready for a Night Lord. I'm always willing to switch because I'm going to do more, right? So something to keep in mind. You've even seen that with people liberating. They may be playing dual blade half the time, but then they... Please fixed here. Oh, we're talking... Okay, sorry. Chat's ahead of me here. And yeah, so I think DB is kind of getting eclipsed out a bit. And yeah. They're talking about Demon Slayer. I think Demon Slayer is a D tier class. I'm kidding. This class is fucked. Demon Slayer does so much damage. They're just amazing. They're an amazing class at this point. Like, I'm not quite too sure what to say about this class. They do good damage. They have amazing mobbing. They keep getting fixed too in ways that I didn't expect. And yeah, I think Demon Slayer is an awesome class. Like, they do everything that a beginner would want and more. So DS is phenomenal. I don't know. If you play Demon Slayer, I don't have to tell you that your class is good, right? Your fifth jobs are good, even pre-fifth jobs now, all your skills work properly. Demon Cry is great for mobbing. Like, what else is there to say? New tier for DA? Okay. Fine. Add a row below. No, crap. How many rows below did I add? Crap. Okay, delete. Delete. Why doesn't my class work? Yep. What else is there to say about it? One of my favorite classes in the game by far. Demon Avenger for a long time was absolutely phenomenal. Before CD rework, when they were just shield spammers, they were a great class. They did good damage, they had good utility, they had good mobility too, actually. That was a big thing at the time. Was they had great mobility and they could get around pretty easily. And they had no problems just like, you know, kiting out bosses because shield chasing was the big thing. What do they do now? All of their 5th jobs take a crapload of HP to use. Revenant is a 36-second iframe that the first few weeks of it being released as a 5th job skill did not work. That's a real thing that happened. Their skill, they would just die. Like, I did GPQ on my DA a week after Revenant came out. I pop everything, I'm fully buffed, ready to go. I take a bunch of damage. I'm not even sure what kills me, and I died in Revenant 10 seconds in. I lose all my buffs. I'm like, how does this happen? So now you're stuck with a class that still uses a 3rd job skill in a mob. They have to one-shot with shields to even be relatively efficient, and 1,000 Swords has to be good. Like, oh, the class needs a rework, like a full rework. The idea of spending HP to do stuff is cool. What happens after that? Ask your opinion based on your DB comment. Yeah, I thought DB is a great class. They have good mobbing now with 5th jobs. I would not, if you like Dual Blade, do not change to Night Lord. All I was talking about was that when you, let's say you're comparing Shadower, Dual Blade, and Night Lord, you have to keep in mind that one of them is always better, right? So if you're a really hardcore endgame player, the one that's better is the one you're going to focus on. When Night Lord was bad, people swapped to Dual Blade. When Shadow was bad, people swapped to Dual Blade. When Dual Blade was mediocre, people swapped to Night Lord. It's just something you have to keep in mind because really hardcore endgame players keep that, like, they continue this wheel effectively forever. So that was my comment. Because Dual Blade and Shadower are so close, you could play either. But Night Lord eclipses these two. So this is kind of the triangle you run into. People would swap to Shadower just to try it, yeah. Also in KMS, this class is like S tier, SS tier, because of how good their farming is. But we have different meta. We have totally different meta. Hearing noises outside. So there was something that I didn't consider the first time I ranked Dawn Warrior. They're ping-based still. I thought they would server-side the class at this point, but they haven't yet. That was Pathfinder. Dawn Warrior is a good class. They have good mobbing, they have good damage, and they're really cool looking. They're still ping-based, which is interesting. I'm still gonna put them between A and B tier. Currently, they're B tier, but they should be A tier. If they were server-sided on their main stance change, we're looking at an A tier, but they're not right now. I don't think so, because if you play laggy like I do, Dawn Warrior is awful, because you're gonna get stuck in a stance. You're not gonna be able to swap. This is just something to keep in mind. I think without lag, it's like an S tier. But with lag, it's like a B tier. That's where I'm at with it. I'm sticking with it. Dark Knight? We had this whole discussion earlier. Because you have Dark Knight, and then you have Hero, which is a dumb class, and you have Paladin. What does Dark Knight do that Paladin doesn't do? Paladin is tankier, Paladin does pretty good damage too, and they're easier to use. So why Dark Knight? Honestly, probably the aesthetic is why you're picking it. Final Pact is really silly as an ability. You're always going to see Dark Knight nerfed because Final Pact is a really dumb ability. You do get a waifu. Excuse me. But yeah, ultimately it's going to be compared between Paladin. Oh, fuck off, bud. Dark Knights yeah, they have lifesteal. But Paladins are tankier and Heroes do everything better. So I think Dark Knight is probably going to end up being C tier for that reason. I mean, I like Dark Knight too. I've played Dark Knight more than the other two. That's kind of where I'm at with it. I think this is the appropriate position. I think Paladin, because of how tanky they are, and they do good damage now too after some line reworks. They're B tier, Heroes S tier, and then Dark Knight C tier. All three of the warrior classes are fine. Please don't look at the tier list and say, oh, I have to play this class because it's ranked above the other one. That's not how it works. It just simply, like, there's literal numbers that tell me one is better than the other. Blaster is like probably A to S tier. This class has amazing survivability, really good damage. They have pretty good farming in some maps too. And they're not an easy bosser, they're a very good bosser though if you play it well. That's really all I'm going to say on it. If you're a good blaster player, you're going to show the class's strengths, but because I'm not going to be able to show it. Looking at a lot of people do this though. They'll look at their ranking and they'll see that, oh, their class is D tier, so let's go to an S tier class, right? I really have no idea what Corsair does, but some of their 5th jobs look cool. They have summons too. I just don't think they do anything particularly well. I don't think there's a reason to play them over another pirate. I'm not going to put them in D tier. I'm considering it though, but no, I think C tier. I think the 5th jobs are cool enough that they kind of push them over the edge. Insane burst. Okay, they have good burst, that's fine. I still think that they float somewhere between C and D right now. Okay, Kadena, another class that is an A tier class. They're squishy, that's the one thing to note, and they need to animation cancel to properly combo and do damage. And that's really all there is to it. They do good damage, they have some pretty good mobbing because of how agile they are and how much mobility they have. And they do amazing damage. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. I think the 2 combo classes belong in A tier because if you're good at them, you show the strength of the class. I don't know where to put Blaze Wizard. I think Blaze Wizard is a pretty good class on other servers, but on GMS they're just bad. There's no reason to play a Blaze Wizard over any of the other classes. I have a personal vendetta against Blaze Wizard. I think their hitboxes are too small. Their skills look cool. I hate having to plant in place with some of their skills though. I think they're D tier. Right now, if you're playing on GMS and you're a Blaze Wizard, you're probably not having the best time ever anyway. Buck? What does Buck do that any other class doesn't do? They have Super Saiyan, and that's basically what they're known for at this point, right? I don't think they do crazy damage. They don't have amazing mobbing. They don't have great mobility. The one thing I will say, they have the shark thing that twirls around them. That makes their mobbing good if you one-shot with it. You can CD reset for Super Saiyan, that is true. I think it's D tier though. I think this is another class where it's like, there's no reason to play it over anything else. Cannoneer. I think at one point Cannoneer would have been considered like an SS tier class. Where they are now, so they have good mobbing, they have some good party utility, they have some good bossing, but it's not amazing. It's good though. They have really cool mobility though in bossing specifically. We've seen that with some of the Saren clears recently, with Black Mage clears, stuff like that. I think they're probably somewhere between A and B. I just don't think on GMS our meta is developed enough for them to be above B, so I'm putting them in B. I think this okay, so here's the thing. Bishop mobbing is absolute dog. If you're a Bishop player, you know that you're a bad mobber, right? You don't pick the class because you're a great mobber. That's just not how it works. Benediction is insane. Angel of Balance is insane. Mystic Door is insane. Fountain is insane, and Heal is insane from Angel Ray. And then the one thing I will say, I think this class at one point was probably in the please fix category, but they nerfed Shell, and they nerfed it hard. So I think because of that, we're probably looking at an S tier currently. One of the comments that was made was that Bishop survives in GMS as like still a mainstay in parties, despite the fact we have Kana. Benediction is just too insane. It's much like Domain, but they just don't offer the same damage that Kana does. The other thing is Peacemaker. Peacemaker is very good. And then once you get to higher maps as well, as Bishop, you're mobbing is better because you can stand in one place in Big Bang and then throw Peacemaker and clear more of the map. Same spot as Ice Lightning. Bishop bossing is just better though. They do like the same damage that Ice Lightning does. They heal themselves forever. Yeah, BT is like in the same realm as Demon Avenger. I said this yesterday in my tier list, I'll say it again. Why do I have to choose between animals? Why do I choose between each of the animals for none of my animals to do damage? None of my animals to do anything unique. I don't get it. I have to force myself into cat to help my party while I don't do any damage. Let me use all my animals at once. I just don't understand why this picking between animals is cool. Is it a stance thing? Do they have stances that are relevant? No, they don't. It just annoys me because the class has been out for so long and they never sat down and said, hey, we should fix this. Whatever, we'll skip it a bit here. Battle Mage is a good support class, and they have cool mobbing too, but their damage is annoying because you have to telecast. That's just it. They don't do anything better than any of the other supports. They don't do any damage more than other supports. Their mobbing's cool though. I think they're probably C tier. I think not long ago they were probably D tier, but I think they're slowly plugging their way in. I think they could be B tier if they were maybe a little bit more damage. We're gonna talk about AB before these two, I think. Okay. I think AB at one point was like the undisputed king of farming because of Spotlight and their extra attack. And their bossing is good too. They have an iframe now, which is good. I just can't play the class because getting locked into Trinity animation is pain. And that's bad enough. I think not long ago they would probably be considered an SS tier class. But I think right now they're probably closest to an A tier. Their numbers are good actually. Their numbers are good, they still do good damage. Their burst is a lot more on demand too because of how much damage Trinity and their extra attack does. I can never remember what that stupid orb is called. We're tossing them in A tier. Okay. So here's my opinion on Aaron. I think this class is broken to all hell. Soulseeker, thank you. Also, thank you for the follow, Legger, I appreciate that. I know some Aaron mains, and they always say that their mobbing is good, but not, like, god tier. I've seen Aarons do amazing things with their mobbing. They have good... Their bossing is just insane. Their mobility is just insane. Like... They do so much damage right now, too. After the buff to Hunter's Prey, they're doing tons and tons of damage. Yeah, the mobbing for a lot of people is not amazing. Basically, what I'm wrestling with now is, do I think that Aaron is in the please fix tier? And in my opinion, I think so. I know a ton of the community would disagree, but I think that Aaron is like so borderline where if they got one more buff to anything, they would be way over the top. Way over the top. But if they got any nerfs, they'd be back to being mediocre all the time. And because of that balance, it's the same thing with Arc, but I think Arc has exceeded that over the top moment. I think that Aaron should be in the please fix tier, but I think if you're looking at Aaron right now and you say, hey, we should nerf this class, you should not nerf the class. You just shouldn't touch the class. Because they're at the point now where they're on that fine, like, tightrope where they could be totally balanced or could be unbalanced. I'm putting them in S tier, but I really want people to understand that they are so close to being over the top right now. Like, one more buff and they're going to be broken. One more good fifth job skill and they're going to eclipse everything. And that's something that I think needs to be stated before we get to anything else. Now we come back to Hayato. We put this one on the back burner for a minute. I still I still Yeah, but you mob with Beyonder Blade, right? Or Beyond Blade, sorry. I'm wrestling with this so much more than I thought I would be. Where do I find Hayato? I'm not totally sure. They do more damage though. It cannot be understated how much damage they do with Phantom Blade. Once they stack up their Phantom Blade, they're better than every other class. And the fact that they get final damage from it means that they need less funding to do more damage, right? I think the 5th jobs are too good. The mobility is very high. Damage is really good all the time too. They have access to impenetrable defense, which is a super stance. Itariki Strike is like a mini bind too. It like stuns momentarily. Kiri or whatever. So now we wrestle with the idea of the same thing with Aaron. Are they please fixed here? I don't think so. But it's pretty close. I think they're definitely an S tier. I think they're probably a little bit worse than Aaron right now, but they're definitely better than the rest of the cast of A tiers. I think that you have to consider the fact that when you... Okay, this will go for these 5 here, let's say. Any of these 5 here could be put over the top by a single buff. Any of them. I think it's worth noting. I think actually most of these classes can. Fire Poison's like a low S tier, a high A tier is why I put it here. I think really any of these classes with like a good buff would eclipse every other class of their same genre. Yeah. I think this is probably the closest thing to a real tier list I'll ever make. I don't have a VOD, but I'll talk about Shade. Where is Shade in this? I think it was B tier, right? Or was it A tier? In KMS, Shade is like an S tier. It's a very, very good class. Yeah. But in GMS, we have other supports that make Shade not as amazing. Because Shade specifically brings Split, right? So when you have Split, that's what you bring to your party. You split the enemy, and then some classes suffer with Split. Like, if you have a Night Lord in your party, you do not want to split on Night Lord Burst, because it screws the Night Lord damage. But every other class benefits from it, right? And then on top of that, the other thing to keep in mind with Shade is that they do good damage, they have good mobility, they have good bossing, but nothing is superb, effectively. Everything is good, but it's not over the top good. And because of that, we do have lower attack speed cap, which does benefit them on GMS, but still, they still don't, they're not better than any of the S tier classes. They're not please fixed, they're nothing of the caliber. Also, maintaining livers can be annoying at times. I still stand by that. I know a lot of people say it doesn't, but maintaining livers is annoying sometimes. Other than that, they do have good 5th job skills. They have great, they have good hypers as well, that's the other thing. They have a nice iframe. I'm kind of in the caliber where the class should probably be S tier, but because of how it interacts with other classes, it's not. Because if you split and you're splitting and then the other class doesn't do multiple, like only hits one mob, right? Like let's say you split and you have 2 Night Lords in your party. That's bad. And like let's say you split and your Lumi only has 1 target on Ender. That's bad too. Yeah, it will no, it doesn't. So if you're hitting the split, it'll only hit the split. So if you split and I'm bursting and I'm hitting just the split, I'm not hitting the main target. It is sapping the main target's HP, but I'm doing less damage because the split takes half damage, yeah. If you split the boss, it's gonna focus on the guy in front though, because they both have the same HP. Because the split is literally just a torn soul from the main boss. And not all single target attacks focus the main target as well. Not yet, at least. Yeah. But yeah, that's basically it for the tier list for now. Some classes I still don't know as much about, but other classes I know more about. So that's kind of where I can fill that knowledge in.